Sometimes when you go somewhere, you'd see that a group of people, for example, Nigerians, have gotten like a bad rep in that
Mm-hmm.
space. So
Mm-hmm.
when you go there, it's then you're just like, you know what, I don't want to associate with you guys because I don't want to be identified as you have previously been identified before I
True.
arrived. So I guess we
Very
also
true.
have to look at that aspect. So sometimes that's actually another reason why some people will be like, you know what, I don't want to talk to this set of people.
The fact that people come and the first thing they want to do is to stay in their comfort zone because it's kind of help you to remain within the circle that you know, because this circle have the same shared language, the same culture, and it kind of also helps to navigate the impression that you have coming here. And sometimes the whole story is about racism and all that, so you feel like staying within your circle.
So, hi everybody. Good morning from Berlin,
Hi.
Germany. Today we're here with two special guests, some you've seen before, or both of them if you've been watching our show. And we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, for us at least, that has to do with friendship as migrants abroad. What to do, stay on your lane or mingle. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'd like my co-host to take it up from here, have our guests introduce themselves briefly, and then we jump into the show.
All right, okay, thank you so much, Michael. As always, I'm always excited to be here every Saturday.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tari Richards. I live in Berlin, Germany. I'm a lawyer here and I work in international business law, basically. And yeah, that's it from me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Richard again, as I said, I live here in Paris and I'm a development policy consultant, and I also train on human rights and other development related subjects here in Europe, but also sometimes in Africa. So it's my pleasure to be here to have this interesting conversation with this duo of Richards and Mike.
I would like to kick off with this. At least it's my observation. I think in general, most of us who move abroad, especially to Europe, we tend to, I wouldn't say complain, but at least talk about making friends, integrations. I've had some of my friends ask me, hey, Michael, how many German friends do you have? And sometimes it's hard to think about it. But one common thing, or at least the pattern which I've seen, is that most of us who talk about this topic are those of us who moved abroad as adults already. Maybe we're already over 20, 22, 23 or something before we moved abroad. And it feels like, yeah, maybe we're already formed. We know what we want mostly. And you're not in that stage of just making friends, that it's kind of easier to stay on your lane and see whatever comes. I just would like to kick off with that. What pattern have you observed? Do you think migrants make friends very easily when they move abroad? Do you think not? And if they make friends, is it mostly people they know or they go outside of their zone?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that generally migrants tend to like stay in their lane and kind of make friends with the familiar. And I guess that kind of makes sense because you're moving somewhere for the first time, everything feels new. The entire structure, the society, the environment, it's all new. I'm sure there are like lots of culture shocks. So sometimes just like staying in your comfort zone is you find someone of your ethnicity or your nationality and like, phew, okay, this is my person, and so it's so easy to stay there. I do think, however, that is not something that we should be doing. We shouldn't actually be staying there. So personally, for me, I think I've had both sides of the coin. So when I first got here, I was doing my master's. And my master's was very international, where 75 people from over 15 or 20 countries. And I'm Nigerian, and I think there was only one other Nigerian as well in the class. So it was quite easy for me. And because we were all really coming from everywhere, it was easy for us to bond because we were all foreigners. We're all not Nigerians. We're not even all Africans, but because we're all foreigners, it was new to us. It was easy for us to bond and find our clique. So I think that the friend circle that I had was very, very international. I had people from Singapore, I had people from Jamaica, and I had German friends in there as well. So it was very, very diverse. But then when I moved to Berlin to work, it was like, because I feel like in school, you're forced to be together, right? Have classes together and everything. You're going to want to go out together. But here now, it was just basically work and home, and for me, church. So it was a bit more difficult. So then I could see how easy it is to just be by myself and stay by
Yeah. Yeah.
myself. And a friend of mine, she always, because she actually lives in France as well, but not in Paris. She lives in Bordeaux. And yeah, she was always saying, you have to go out, you have to go out and you have to mingle with people. Now, because of my
Yeah.
profession and what I was doing with the law firm, I've definitely had to like mingle with people. And I think I have like a diverse group of friends now as well. But I can see definitely how easy it was to just hide by myself and then be by myself. And maybe if I see one Nigerian, I mean, I met Mike and his brother were basically one of the first people I met. So you can imagine, just be like, okay, I found my people and I'm done. But yeah, so I guess I understand it from both sides of the coin.
100%. Richard, how about you? How is it for you?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, I cannot help but notice that I probably told the same line with Tari because we have a bit of similar experience, and of course, I do agree with her the fact that people come and the first thing they want to do is to stay in their comfort zone because it's kind of help you to remain within the circle that you know because this
Yeah.
circle have the same shared language, the same culture, and it kind of also helps to navigate the impression that you have coming here. And sometimes the whole story is about racism and all that. So you feel like staying within your circle would help protect you against those kind of structural barriers that you might face. And so when they come, that comfort is there. When they find their home, they're like, welcome home. No, I feel like now I'm at home.
Yeah.
And even though we come out as adults most times, and most of us still have that strong attachment to family and friends back home. So when we
Yeah.
leave, there's that feeling of loneliness, and so we want to quickly find our base. And what makes us feel like we are home now and we can settle is the fact of finding the people that comes from our own circle or from our culture and things like that. There used to be a funny joke about some part of Nigeria. I wouldn't say that, but you probably know that if you go to a country or a city or anywhere and you don't find this ethnic group, you better run away because that place is not fit for living. So I think many people who come abroad, especially to Europe, are in that tendency. If they don't find people from their country, they feel like this is not uninhabitable for my country, men and women, and so I need to find my niche. So that's always most times the initial navigation that people do to navigate those cultural barriers and stay within the circle. For me, like Temi as well, I moved here also as an adult, but also to work in an international organization. So not to study, but like work in an international organization. And within my circle was all people who were either internationals or locals who had international experience and who already speaks English because France is French speaking country. So there was that initial, because I came without speaking even a word of French, so that I needed to find also people I can communicate with. So the
Yeah.
easiest thing was to find a circle where I communicate. But this circle was not necessarily my own circle, like Nigerians or Africans or something. I really wanted to mingle, but then my mingling was more with internationals or people who spoke the language I understood. So it could be in terms of that, either in terms of language, either in terms of culture, either in terms of similarity of way of
Yeah.
thinking. This
Yeah.
usually kind of shape how people kind of make friendship when they arrive.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
as Temi said, I think it's not necessarily the right way to go. But I think when we dig deeper, we can discuss the pros and cons of this and what
Mhm.
challenges this could pose. But yeah, there is that tendency, and we have had our own shared experience of remaining either within a circle or making friends that makes us feel in our comfort zones. Yeah.
Okay, there's something that I'd like to touch on. I think for some of us, the associations that we find ourselves with, it grows naturally, the way we've just talked about, where you land first, studying or working, the environment you see yourself, and that's like the default base. You didn't plan it. However, there's also another pattern that I tend to see. It's like you see, I give an example. Some Africans you see within their circle, they tend to be just mostly Europeans, mostly white people, and then others are just strictly Africans or blacks. I'm just thinking, is this intentional? I don't want to mention countries or people, but it's something I see, and I'm just asking myself, is this intentional, or it's also like the default thing? Because the default happens when you come at first, but then you realize that, okay, hey, how do I balance this? I think you need a touch of both worlds. But in some cases, there's a clear pattern. Yeah, either they're just mostly that or that, you know. What do you guys think? Do you feel some people intentionally just want to associate themselves with, say, maybe just Europeans, or others, they just want to associate themselves with only Africans? Have you guys seen that pattern too? Maybe let's even start from that. Have you seen that, Tari? Have you seen some friends
Yeah.
of yours that all their so it's like they're Africans, they're black, but all their friends are white. They're the only black always in the midst of their friends. Have you seen that before?
Yeah, I mean, I have. I think that it's just like it's both sides of the extreme, right? So on one side, it's
Yeah.
like I only want to have black people as my friends because this is who I am, they understand me and all. And then on the other side, it's just like I'm here now. I want absolutely nothing to do with my roots. I do feel like
That's
that might fall a bit on a sense of complex in terms of
okay.
maybe there've been some, I don't know, maybe some negative ideas about some set of people, or maybe they've even had like negative experiences as well. And now it's just like, you know what, I don't even want to talk to all these people at all. And that means that in a manner of speaking, I feel like you're also now looking down on your roots because you somehow feel like this set of people are much better than this entire. And that's like, I mean, you can't just group every single person into one particular group and say, okay, so these are my people and all of you, no, I'm never speaking with you.
I agree with you. Again, it comes back to the issue of comfort. Like when I moved here, I had a lot to do with internationals, but also a lot of traveling doing. And so my circle was really navigating towards the people I was professionally linked to or that I had to meet during the course of my journeys and all that. So within my initial circle was these people. And like you said to me, there was also that intention to detach a bit because I moved out. And I like, okay, I'm in a new environment, so I want to integrate into the environment. I want to understand the environment. So I naturally navigated towards circling myself around people from that environment rather than going back to my own community and be within my own community, because I felt that also another form of isolation, like you said, being in two sides of the extreme. So I felt like I know my country, I know where I come from, so I don't necessarily need to remain in that circle to be able to do anything here. But I do need the other circle to also understand how the system works, how the culture works, and to understand the people. And for me, that was an important element, an important step for integration. But again, every extreme is bad. So it's either trying to find the balance between keeping the connection with the culture where you come from without losing your cultural identity if it's essential for you, of course, and without losing touch from where you come from, but also opening up to the new reality where you find yourself. Because I really know a lot of people who literally cannot mingle with the people because like and everything they see is like for them, no, this is bad, this is no, this is not how we do it in my place. I mean, stay in your place. Why are you here?
Yeah.
So I mean, you could see things and appreciate it, or not necessarily appreciate it, but understand that the people here do appreciate it, and so you respect it for what it is because you find yourself in this environment. You could have been anywhere else. So I think those two extremes need to be approached a little bit. Like you could stay in your circle, you could mingle with your circle, but it's also very important to understand the new reality where you find yourself, because that's the way to integrate, to move on. Of course, there are risks when you stay within your own circle. There's that risk of social isolation. In either way, if you stay only with Europeans or you stay with the people from the continent or country where you come from, there's that risk of social isolation that you face, and which
Yeah.
in the long run may not be helpful to you. And I also think that also leads to some kind of misunderstanding of what people know about where they're coming from or where they are. So unfortunately, it happens, and many people tend to again fall within that circle. Not a recommendation, but my way to go around that is like try to get a bit of both. You know where you're coming from. It's good to stay in touch. I love my country and I want to stay in touch as much as possible. And I want to be connected to my country. But that necessarily doesn't mean that I need to encircle myself and close up to the other avenues and other areas of friendship that I could make. So I naturally make friends very easily with the people who welcomes me in their own country, while also keeping touch. But I'm not going searching for only my circle. I want to circle myself around Nigerians, so you wouldn't see me go seeking for only Nigerian friends. When I come in a place, I would see Nigerians. I would relate with them as brothers and sisters, but I would also open up to meeting other people because I want to learn about their culture. I want to learn about their own reality, and I want to be able to debug the misconceptions that people have about them, that probably I also have about them, that may not be real. So by approaching to them, I get to understand those reality differently, and this is why I open up a bit more. Yeah.
Just to be fair, right? Sometimes when you go somewhere, you'd see that a group of people, for example, Nigerians, have gotten like a bad rep in that space. So when you go there, it's then you're just like, you know what, I don't want to associate with you guys because I don't want to be identified as you have previously been identified before I arrived. So I guess we also have to look at that aspect. So sometimes that's actually another reason why some people will be like, you know what, I don't want to talk to this set of people.
All right, so I think listening to both Tari and Richard here, I can say I think it's natural because when you first come into Europe, there must be this period of adjustment where you get to adapt. But again, from what you're saying, on the average, how long should it take before someone begins to integrate? Because it's natural. When you come in, like you said, Tari, you're coming from a different system, structure, culture, and everything, ways of doing things. You don't know the word that you say to somebody that will get the person offended. There's something I can say to you here. I was working with some of my colleagues in UK, and there was something I said to the lady. It sounded somehow to her. I had to be very sensitive to know, maybe I'm not supposed to say this. You cannot just come and say you're looking beautiful to somebody, but I can just kind of, wow, this your look today now, wow, you're looking very nice, and like that. But maybe based on the culture there, if you say it could land you into trouble. So it could be some of the reasons why people want to stay in their lane. But for how long do you have to stay in the lane? And on the average, what do you think? How long should it take somebody to get to know how everything works and to start integrating?
I think that actually right from the bat, right, there should be like, it should be your plan that, so I'm here now, maybe I've met a couple of people that I'm comfortable with, but that's not what I'm going to do. So right from the beginning, there should already be attempts of integration. Now, it may not happen immediately, but you're definitely on the way to go. So for example, something that people actually say about Germans is that at the beginning, they're always very closed off. Like if they don't know you, they don't know you. And they are just like, they are not trying to be friendly with you or anything. But the minute they open up to you, they accept you like fully into their circle, you become family and all of that, right? So that's why it might take a while, but it's something that you should be able to do. And then you also take advantage of whatever you're doing when you arrive. So for example, if you're in school, that's already an opportunity to meet people because you're going to have other students. If you're working, it's also an opportunity to meet people because you're going to have colleagues as well. And if maybe for some reason you just arrived, you're not really doing anything and you're just staying at home for that time, you can go out, you know. There are lots of like social settings and places that you can go, hang out and meet people. And so I think that right from when you arrive, that should be one of the things that you're setting out to do, that I want to integrate, I want to meet people. And how long it will take will just depend on, you know, the circumstances, the situation, the people that are around you. But it's definitely something that you should actively be doing. And especially, for example, for us that live in countries where English is not the official language, that's actually one of the fastest ways to learn the language if you're actually mixing with the locals. And the faster you learn the language, the easier it also is for you to integrate. So it's basically like a circle that's all dependent on each other, right?
Okay, so Richard, I want to come to you now. Is it that it's easier to get friends, make friends in France compared to other parts of Europe? Is it about your charisma, your aura, or what? You're always surrounded by the Europeans? And we have a lot of blacks in France, to be specific. So
just to circle back a little bit to what Tari was saying, indeed, when you make the decision to move out of your country, out of where you've always been and have grown, I think that's the first step to opening up to integration. Integration doesn't necessarily happen when you arrive in the country. You have to already start thinking of how and when you want to integrate, and which means understanding a little bit already how the people think, what you would need on your to create the first impression when you arrive in that country. Indeed, I'm someone that is very open to friendship. I'm very open to new people because in my line of work and in my way of being, it's always like being social, going out there to meet people and get to integrate. Get to understand where they come from and how we either similar or different, but how our differences can reinforce our shared vision or shared development. So yeah, that makes me a lot to open up to a lot of people, especially people that are a bit different from me, because I also want to learn. Indeed, there are a lot of Black people here, but again, something Tari said earlier about wanting to differentiate. Not because you want to like be different from your people, because sometimes unfortunately we get tagged, not wrongly, because rightly so, some people from our own side of the world kind of give an image that is not necessarily what we represent. And you want to give a different image, you take a responsibility of wanting to show that okay, people from this side of the country can also be good people, can also
Right.
be open people, can also be something different that they don't know about. So you tend to want to distinguish and stay a bit out of your own circle to also give a different perspective to the people. I mean, saying that with all sense of humility, of course, it's kind of a sense of also responsibility that we all have to give like a better representation of the culture and the people where we represent. So that sense of responsibility comes to me very easily, and I want to always be that, of course, a good representative of the side where I come from. So that pushes me towards that side. But in terms of timeline, back to your question again to Tari, in terms of timeline, I think there is no perfect timeline as to when you integrate. It all depends on the circumstances, like you said, Tari, but also very importantly and very specifically on the person. Because some people come and the initial encounter is like they're closed off, and some people come right from the beginning, they already want to integrate, so they start finding, even right from the airport, they are like talking to people already and making friendship, which is something good, because then you already start to understand how the people reason and if it's going to be easy to integrate or not. Without mentioning names or countries, there are countries that people naturally say they are racist, they are very closed, they are not very open to people that I have been to and that I really and easily found friends and integrated so
Exactly.
well. Even with my color, as dark as I am, it was not a problem, because it was again my willingness and openness to integrate and to learn about them. And how I do this is more like learning a few things about the language and about the culture. And the first person I meet, I start talking to the person in his language. Oh, you speak our language? No, I don't speak. Those are the only words I know. But then I already opened the conversation with that entrance introduction, and that really works a lot in many countries, even the most difficult countries that people
100%.
think.
How about you,
Yeah.
Michael?
All
Yeah.
right, so thank you so much. By the way, I just want to give a shout out to all our viewers watching us from YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, where else again on Twitter. Thank you so much. By the way, I'd like to let you know that what is bringing us together here is Settling, the platform that connects and informs you about migration. And if you follow the topic which we talk about, you will also understand how deep this is rooted in the migration space. For us, we see migration as something completely unique in the sense that we try to go as deep as possible and touch all the key areas. Migration is personal, it's a lifetime journey, regardless of if you migrate for a short time or permanently. It's something that we are very passionate about, and that's why you see us coming here every week.
By the way, just before we continue, if you're watching this and migration is something you're thinking about, navigating, or even just curious about, then you should definitely check out Setlin. Setlin is a platform that connects and informs people about migration. Whether you're planning to move, already abroad, or just exploring your options, it's a space where real stories, practical tips, and honest conversations happen every day. And honestly, this conversation we're having, it's the kind of topic people on Setlin care about deeply.
I think we could not exhaust this topic, that's for sure. But the bottom line is, yeah, be intentional about what you want to do. But in as much as you're intentional, be also sensitive and be aware of what is happening around you. There could be no right or wrong way to do it. And I think you just need to let things flow naturally. But the bottom line for me, at least, is be intentional, be sensitive, and pay attention to the things happening around you. And that's how you find the right balance, whether to stay in your lane or to mingle. So that's all I have to say.
I mean, one thing I want to say also is just like be open to try new things, be open to try new experiences, be open to new cultures. Don't just don't see something and the first thing is no, never. That's not who I am, right? Especially because, like Richard said, I mean, you are here. So you didn't leave your country to come here and say, this is not what we do in my country, but you're no longer in your country, so you should be open. And especially for us, and even like with things like food, right? I mean, it's so interesting to see an African or a Nigerian and they will say the only thing I've eaten here is Nigerian food. What do you mean?
How do you survive? Like, why?
What does that even mean? You
What
can't
does
do
that
that.
even
You
mean?
have to be open.
Right?
So if someone says, let's go for dinner, what are you going to say? And I mean, food is literally one of the best places that you can talk to people over food and drinks, and people just open up and then you get to learn more about people and meet people. So you can't say I don't eat all these things they eat here. You have to try, you have to open, and I'm pretty sure that you will definitely love some things.
Thank you, Tari. I
Okay.
couldn't agree more with you. Like I've seen people who, when especially in terms of food, when they see something like, "Ew, how come you eat that?" Guys, come on.
Come
These
on.
people enjoy this stuff, right? So
You're
I
right.
could
Yeah.
understand that you don't really like everything, but of course, try to be open. The key is openness. Indeed,
Mhm.
it's openness, left, right, and center. There's no better way. Staying completely in your circle or disconnecting completely from your circle and making new friends. Both extreme, I think, should not be. The essence is we are all human community, and it's important to understand and to learn how to work together. And when you find yourself in a new community, in a new country, in a new environment, I think that the key to surviving and to integrating is openness to meet the new people, to meet the new reality, to meet the new culture. So that would help you not to be disconnected either from your circle, but also not from your host country, because those
Okay.
tools are important. And the fact that you remain connected to the both side helps you to take the good and the bad, but also filtering what is good to see if your own culture can help enrich their own culture, or if their own culture can help enrich your own culture. In any case, they have to be rapprochement. I don't know how to say that in English. So stay open and stay connected to the both sides, and of course enjoy your time and be intentional about whatever you're doing in the country or in the environment where you find yourself. So it's been a pleasure.
100%. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you for watching. Thank you, Tari. Thank you, Richard. And to
Thank
my
you.
very respected co host from Nigeria joining me every Saturday, I appreciate you very much. And I wish everyone a nice Saturday.